La Resortera.
Hello. Sara Elena, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm excited. It's a new week.
Welcome to Pura Vida Perspectives, another week of us sharing our perspective of different things that we live here in Costa Rica on a daily basis.
Yes. And today is probably one of my favorite topics ever because, well, it's about homes. We're going to talk about homes and how they're different here in Costa Rica than maybe, let's say, North America in the United States, because we both have experience of living in homes there to living in homes here.
And not only living in Costa Rica or how a house is different from Costa Rica to the United States, but how can a house be different from the city to the beach or from the city to the mountain?
Totally. Yep. Even the homes in Costa Rica, I always like to say they come in all shapes and sizes, all price ranges. You can have your super, modern contemporary styles, your more concrete, boxy styles, or you can have your open air bamboo styles. I mean, there's so many styles. People have gotten pretty creative here in this country.
And I have people saying like, that looks like a jail cell instead of a house.
Yes. Actually, one of my favorite things about those situations is, though, sometimes you see a home from the outside and you're like, ooh, that looks kind of like, I don't know about that. Yeah. But you go in and it's like a whole nother world. It's got beautiful gardens and it's like you never really know what's behind those walls, sometimes in a really good way.
The other day I was speaking with a friend that just went to Puerto Viejo. I think I talked about my barber went not long ago to Puerto Viejo. And he was amazed by the Airbnb they were staying at. He was like, you know what? If I can ever, make money, I'm going to build a place like this because it's not expensive to build. And it was wide open and it was made out of, I don't know how do you say it, out of purling. Purling is like the steel.
The steel beams?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But it was all white and it was so beautiful and it was so low cost. You could tell that the house wasn't really expensive, but it was so nicely designed. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, you can find every type of houses here in Costa Rica.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely know about that. So you've lived in houses in North America. Whenever you came back from the United States to live in Costa Rica again, what was some of the differences that you saw that maybe now you noticed now that you'd lived outside of Costa Rica?
Well, the first thing when I was a kid growing up and living in the States, we used to live in an apartment. And apartment buildings in the States are pretty much all the same. Same shape, in 150 on one side and 150 on the other side, a pool in the middle. And that was pretty much it. Here in Costa Rica, you don't find a lot of places like that. Like 3, 4, 5 floors of apartments being the same way. And that's where I kind of lived the first year in the States. Now, my mom, she still lives in Tampa, Florida. And now she lives like in this big lot, because it's a big lot. She has a lot of green in the front and green in the back. But the house is like a big container.
Oh.
Even in Florida. And now you're seeing here in Costa Rica, containers.
Mm-hmm.
But they're amazing on the inside. Like my mom's container in the States, it's so nice and so peaceful, but it's big. I don't know if it's like they put like 2 or 3 but it's not a house. It's like a house built on the containers. And it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Then I have my best friends that lives in a neighborhood, also in Tampa, and it's a gorgeous, beautiful house, a big backyard, and you can find those places here in Costa Rica, but not in every single area.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I have seen container homes here. Mostly what I see are like the concrete block construction homes, or I guess the Liviano, like the drywall construction. I think those have been the most popular that I've seen, but people do get creative.
Yeah, now, like, for example, you use moved into your house, what, 3, 4, 5 months ago?
It was last September.
Wow, that's kind of
I know.
so fast.
Yeah.
Wow. And your house is beautiful. It's gorgeous. And again, like the floor, and I was telling this to my wife the other day. The floor is not how do you call it here? They call it porcelanato or piso. It's
It's polished concrete.
polished
So,
concrete.
yeah, it's not the tile. You see a lot of tile here.
Right. And it's polished concrete, and you look at it and you're like, this is nice. And it's not really expensive to make that. And at some other places, you just have, like, for example, we're recording the podcast. You got the cerámica. How do you say cerámica?
Like ceramic.
Ceramic.
Yeah. Same word. Yeah. I mean, for that house, gosh, I had to, since I lived in 20 homes in the country, I had to really think about what I liked and I guess didn't like out of each home because I lived in open air settings. I actually made a video on this. It's on my YouTube channel of all the 20 homes
By
I've
the
ever
way,
lived.
visit Sara Elena's YouTube channel. Whatever you need to know about Costa Rica, you're going to find it there.
Yeah. So one of the videos is all about the houses that I've lived in. So I really thought about, the houses here. A lot of houses in Costa Rica I didn't find had good proper storage. Like they didn't have closets. There just wasn't enough storage.
It's
for
crazy
me,
because, before I moved to my house that I'm living in right now, the one that I just built, I was renting. And when I told my wife I want to get out of Alajuela, I want to see different places, we will find a house and she will say, this is it. This is the house. I like it. I love it. And I will go to one of the rooms and I'll say, there's no closet in this room. And she's like, I don't care. You're definitely going to care because when we move in, you're going to bitch about me. Like, where do I put all my stuff? And a lot of houses in Costa Rica don't have closets.
yeah. So, or they'll have those wardrobes. It's like a piece of furniture that you buy and add on. But, in North America, I mean, even in a lot of your most basic apartments, there's always some kind of like built-in closet
not
with some
here.
little doors. So here, no. Another weird thing that I noticed was outlet placement. I know it sounds like really small and strange, but I put a lot of outlets like all over my
All around the
house,
house.
because I've lived in a lot of places that the outlets, either there weren't enough of them, and also the placement of them just didn't make sense. Like nothing near the bed, nothing near where like an office, like say chair where the desk would be.
I have a friend that he works for the education department here in Costa Rica. So he has to travel a lot all around Costa Rica distributing books and like the tests, like they made them here in El MEP and he has to go and give them out. So he's traveling a lot. You know what he does when he goes out on working out of the whole place? He brings an extension because he has find out that some places that he stays in, there's no outlet next to his bed.
I know.
So he just bring the extension so he can charge his phone next to his bed.
I know. Yeah. I mean, that absolutely could be necessary. So even just those little funny details. Another one would just be sometimes the overall layout of homes that I've lived in just didn't really make sense. Like, did you ever find that?
The other day, I went to visit a friend at an apartment, and like the living room was so tiny and the kitchen so big. I was like, this is crazy. Like you just say, the layout, it's completely crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the joy of things too. One of my favorite things is to look at houses, and what I love about here in Costa Rica is they're all so different. So I don't like the cookie cutter style, everything the same anyways. So it's just, these are just funny things that I know. I'm definitely not hating on any of this. It's just things that I've picked up and noted along the
It's
way.
like when we were speaking before we started on with the podcast, depends on where you live. Because if you live in the city, you're going to see like caged houses, with bars, and like you have to like put double because people might break in depending on where you live at. And I mean, we're here to share you the perspective of what really goes on in Costa Rica. Not to say Costa Rica is dangerous or anything like that. You just got to be careful with your stuff. And some places, one of these crackheads or these, people that are looking to steal might jump in your house and take your shoes. Or so the layout of the houses are completely different from the city, from rural areas like the volcanoes, beaches, mountains, places like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, me personally, like I've never had anyone break into my home. I got a shoe stolen once, but it was a neighbor's dog. So far, so good.
And I'm telling you this because this happened to me.
It does.
It did happen to me. One time, my wife, while we were like 2 years together or something like that or less, she left at night because, and and this is funny, people from the States or Europe or other, countries will not know about this. In Costa Rica, I will say 75 to 80% of people washes their clothes and they hang it in the backyard.
Yeah.
And so you leave your clothes out there so it will dry by themselves. And my wife washed one of my pair of shoes, leave the shoes out there and some clothes. Next morning, boom, gone.
Everything?
Yeah.
All the clothes?
All the clothes in my shoes.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Oh, the worst is whenever you,
And
you
we
put it out.
we didn't hear anybody came in. So this guy jumped over the wall and just took everything, jumped out, and boom, took off.
That's rough. I mean, the one of the things about hanging your clothes outside is I would always forget to go get it when it would rain. So, you spend all the time washing the
It
clothes.
happened to me.
You put them outside, and then, I mean, it happened to me so many times.
Yeah,
and
so
then,
many
oh
times.
no, the rain, or, you weren't even
exactly.
home. We did an episode where we talked about rainy season. Sometimes it comes when you weren't expecting
Or
it.
there's someone home. Hey, the clothes are hanging.
Yeah.
Please bring them on.
Bring them in, or else
Bring them in,
they're going to
yeah.
get weird. The next day, you got to dry them out again, and they're
Yeah.
just not the same. So,
Yeah, exactly.
oh, good times.
It's crazy.
And so speaking about laundry, one thing I noticed is in a lot of the houses I lived in, the laundry room was like actually outside of the home. Like I'd have to walk out of a door to another area outside around the back of the house or somewhere, on the side of the house. Yeah. And that's where the laundry was, which as long as you had the overhangs, you were good. But if your house didn't have those good overhangs and it was raining and you wanted to go grab your laundry, that was kind of a pain. I did put the laundry room inside my house.
Okay.
But then I have a nice big window so I can open it, because I have like one of those washer dryer combos that does it all in the same machine. But so laundry being outside of the house, that's been another fun one.
And I'm going to tell you, most of the houses I lived in are outside. Now that I moved to Grecia, the house that I rented had it inside, and the house that I built in had it inside. Another thing are front yards and backyards. Not everywhere in Costa Rica you will find a front yard and a backyard. In this case, the house that I just built in, I have a big backyard, but I don't have like a front yard because like the front of the house is where I park the car. And a funny thing that I seen, like for example, in your house, whenever you're having guests, they can, if you don't want them to come to that house, you can have them come on the side of the house.
Oh, true. Mm-hmm.
Instead of them walking all the way, through the living room, through the kitchen, through whatever, they just walk on the side of the house and just get to your backyard where you have your backyard furniture and stuff like that. On this house that I just built, I didn't do that. And I was like telling my wife the other day that I think that's kind of a mistake because I like to play soccer at night. And if I want to bring my friends over for a beer or whatever, they have to come in through the house. And how we guys are making noises and laughing and stuff like that. Maybe they can wake up my daughters or my wife or whatever. So like we said at the beginning, houses are very, very different how they're built.
Yeah. I mean, luckily I do think Costa Rica overall is, gives a lot of flexibility in how you can build them. Of course, you have to stay within the limits, but people get creative, and it's definitely fun to see. I guess one other thing I noticed is, the AC. So here in Costa Rica, we have, like zoned units. Like that's the most common. I think I've seen central air twice. Like I've seen it in one condo building in Jaco. And I knew this woman who had a house down in Dominical, but up in the mountains. And it was like a mansion. And they had central AC. And I'm sure that was so much money.
You have to, at the end of the day, you have to ask maybe a professional. Because if you have AC in your room, AC in the living room, and AC on the other room, Wouldn't it be better just to have AC in the whole house?
But for me, I mean, my daughter's at school all day. I can close her door. I'm not cooling down her room. And we have that third extra guest bedroom. I close that door. I'm not cooling down that room.
But what about, because I remember this in the States, like you have the central AC, but one room can like do two rooms, or maybe you can lower like with one that will manage like the kitchen. And because at my mom's house, it's only one. Like my wife, when we go to my mom's, she like freezes to death all day because my mom keep it so cold, but it's one central air for the whole house.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how my parents' house is too. I don't know about like if you could temperature control different rooms. Maybe someone else can tell us that.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it's more energy efficient to just being like when I'm back, working in my room, then and no one else is home, I don't need to cool down any other areas of the house.
Yeah, you don't need to cool like the living room or
Exactly.
the kitchen or anything like that.
Exactly.
And here's the thing. Sorry about that. You have air conditioning because you live on the beach.
Yes.
If you live in the city, air conditioning is not necessary.
No, when I lived in Heredia, I remember being cold. I remember it being really windy. I would definitely have to shut the windows. Like you could hear the wind coming through the windows, when it kind of makes that like howling sound. Anytime I come up here, I'm freezing.
Yeah, people, what they do here in Costa Rica is they buy a lot of fans. Fans is like the most used instead of air conditioning. Air conditioning is not very popular in Costa Rica. Well, not very popular like in the city, maybe on the beach.
Yeah. No, and I lived on the beach in a lot of areas without AC. Now I have the luxury to have it. But also, actually, I guess that is kind of one thing that I've seen some Costa Ricans be a little superstitious. Not superstitious by, but they get, oh no, it makes you sick.
Expensive.
It'll make you sick. The AC is going to make you sick.
Oh, yeah, because you're coming from the hot weather out there and then you're walking into the air conditioning.
Exactly. And actually, so I keep my AC on 28 degrees Celsius, which is like 80 degrees.
Wow.
So it cools it down though, 28, 27 Celsius.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty much like my house stays at like 80 or something. Unless I have guests over, then I'll put it down. But I don't need it that low. It's just to kind of freshen up the air a little bit. So I think it still is important to acclimate, not totally, don't have it on 16, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I know Fahrenheit. I just don't know what my AC means in Fahrenheit. I just know which one's really cold.
Yeah, because you've been here for so long time. You just use Costa Rica measuring system.
Exactly. No, it's 16, way too cold. My ACs have never been on that temperature before in their lives. They probably never will be.
Well, it's good that we share this perspective to people about, air conditioning plus not air conditioning, depending on the zones in the area of Costa Rica. Like right now where we at, because we're in a building, we definitely need the air conditioning. But if we were to be in a house where we get, like windows and stuff, here we're on the area we're at right now, no air conditioning needed.
No, and that really helps with your electric bill too. I mean, so people, complain, the electricity. But if you do live somewhere where you just don't need the AC, my electricity bill, I remember being maybe $30 in a lot of homes that I lived in, or sometimes $20-$30 years ago when I didn't have AC. And it was a smaller home, of course.
Right.
Not too big of a refrigerator.
Right.
Not a fancy washer dryer or anything like that.
All right. What else would we have?
Well, let's see. We talked about the closets, the overall layout, the laundry being outside, screens, no screens. Somehow, some people assume that all houses will just have screens, but that's not always the case here. I've lived in a lot of houses that didn't. My house doesn't have screens.
What do you mean the screens? Like
the mesh
for the windows?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, my house has to have, because like I'm a dark type of person. Like I really need to be sleeping on a completely dark. But yeah, some people just don't need them.
No, screens are like those mosquito nets, like you would put like the netting.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying now.
Those other ones are like curtains or shades.
Yeah. So that the mosquitoes won't fly in.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. No, it depends on the area again.
Yeah.
It depends. Like in the city, most people don't. And again, in the city, instead of the mosquito thing, you got bars on your window.
Yeah, right.
So people will not break into your house.
Exactly. So that's a difference. Also, I mean, even let's say, so my house doesn't have screens. What I'll do is by sunset time, close up the doors. Usually,
Yeah.
it's not too buggy. But when I've lived in buggy places, just close it up around sunset time. A lot of people are concerned. Oh, what about bugs being in the house? Am I going to wake up and is there going to be a big spider or big tarantula, a scorpion? I mean, I found 2 scorpions maybe in all my years here.
I never.
One very large spider, but
In your experience, because this is what you do, you help people move to Costa Rica by recommending them or telling them from your own experience, or your perspective. What do people ask you the most of how they want their houses here? Because it's very different to rent a house here in Costa Rica than to build a house. It's not the same to rent a house in where I live in Grecia than to rent a house on the beach where you live. What do they ask you the most that they want to get or have in their houses?
well, AC. They need AC, good internet. They just want something. Most people that we work with just want something that's clean, comfortable. It doesn't need to be luxury. So a lot of people I work with, they're just your normal, average, everyday people. A lot of them are moving here because they want a change in lifestyle. So they want something. They don't want something. A lot of them don't want anything super huge. They want something kind of easier to maintain. But usually if it's clean, has AC, everything works in the house that's supposed to be working in the house. I notice people definitely do stay pretty happy as long as there's no crazy bug infestation. But sometimes we will have to explain a few things to help them adjust some of their expectations. Hey, is this normal? Yes, this is normal. Here's how you can, kind of maneuver that.
Like the last house, second last house before I moved to where I'm living right now, my own house, where we live in Alajuela. I mean, we used to keep our house clean, but when the rainy season will start, cockroaches will start to come out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something all over the country. And that you can be the cleanest person in the world. You can have the cleanest house that at some point those damn cockroaches
Yes.
will come out.
Yeah. Yep. I get them too. But fumigating. So that's why if you can fumigate your property, there are I think the guy who comes to fumigate, or I probably need to do it again. They come out and it's non-toxic for animals and humans. One other thing is so funny with the ants. So, I swear, houses I was living in, you drop one thing on the floor or one thing on the counter, you come back 5 minutes later and I'm like, did they just come out of the walls? And I'm looking, I'm like, okay, they literally have just come out of the walls. It's like they come out so fast. And then, it's.
When I first moved to Grecia, I thought the ants were the official mascot. Because there were so many places. Then I start talking to the neighbors and they say, oh, you got to fumigate.
Yeah.
When you start living here, do it at least once a month. And after 6 months or so, then you can do it twice a month and then do it every 3 months or so. Because at the beginning, when I started living there were ants everywhere. And they told me the reason for that, it's because where they'll build that condominium, it was a cañal. How do you say caña? Can you explain caña? You know what caña is?
Yeah, the plant, the sugar cane?
Yeah, the sugar cane.
Okay.
So that condominium was a sugar cane.
It was a sugar cane field.
Exactly. So even though, you build your houses and everything, ants are still.
Yeah, they set up shop. They were living there.
Yeah. Well, we came to invade their space.
Yeah. You did. Now they're going to come invade your homes. But so, okay, the fumigating, I know maybe we'll get off topic a little bit. I mean, the guy that I use charges $100. That's kind of a lot for someone to pay per month. So how much do they charge in Grecia for fumigation?
20,000 colones. That's what, $40?
Yeah, this guy charges 100.
This could be maybe a topic for an episode.
Yeah.
What you pay in one place versus what you pay in another place. Because the other day I was in the States speaking with a friend that every time I get my haircut, I leave my car to wash, and I pay $10 for my haircut, and I pay $15 to wash my car. Mm-hmm. And when I was in the States, because it was a friend of mine, he would charge me $35 for my haircut.
Ooh.
And I get my haircut every week. So guess what? I was out there for almost a month at my mom's house. I only went there twice.
Yeah.
I was like, no, because so maybe we can do an episode about price difference.
That'll be a good one because I think there are some happy price differences that people will be happy to hear. We will definitely get into that into a future one. 'Cause yes, Costa Rica can be expensive, but other things can be way cheaper. I feel like things to take care of yourself. But yeah, we'll save that for another
Episode. All right. Anything else we might cover about homes here in Costa Rica?
I mean, I would just tell people, adjust your expectations a little bit, kind of be open, really think about what are your priorities in a home. And also remember, it may not be your home forever. Come and rent. Or if you're, that's why you come and rent. It's not your forever place. If you end up not liking it, you go move somewhere else. Just like life. If something's not working out, you change it. That's what you're able to do.
That's the message I'm gonna live with. Just like life. If it's not working, move.
Or just change it. Or just have the pura vida attitude. Have the pura vida attitude.
Yep.
All right. Or hey, look, I'm living here. This isn't my space.
And before we go, one thing that can be a pain in the ass, the landlord.
Oh, we'll talk about rent. Yeah.
Yeah, landlords can be nice guys, can be people that are, not minding their own business and want to be on top of you all the time. Might be the type of guys that you have an issue with something and they'll never fix it. Or it will be like in the case with my last landlord that I told him, like, I have this situation, and he was like there the next morning at 6 a.m. trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Hey, let me sleep.
No, it depends. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic too. We'll definitely get into that.
All right. Thank you for another week of Pura Vida Perspectives. I hope everybody is well and everybody enjoyed today's podcast.
All right. Thanks for joining us. See you in the next one.
All right. See you soon. Pura Vida.
Esto fue una producción de La Resortera.